Yo, 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 yo. What is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and we are here to officially, even though a little bit late, announce that Call of Dragons, will be coming out with home kingdoms. Now, for those of you who may or not be familiar with exactly what is a home kingdom, well, I will summarize very shortly. If you remember when you start playing any kingdom builder, doesn't matter what kingdom builder it is, right? Anyone that has like a traditional starting kingdom that you would usually play in your first season, or if you're just downloading that game and you load in, I mean, this could be Lords Mobile, Rise of Kingdoms, Infinity Kingdom, Call of Dragons, etc. There's a number of games that fall into this kind of traditional kingdom builder trend or genre where you start in a server / kingdom. That would be technically your home kingdom. It's the one that you start in. Now, some of you know that when we go about playing, and let me see if I can pull up one here for you, and we are loading in to our account, if you are in a season that is beyond season 1, it could be named, and we'll show you that here as an example. Let's have to zoom in a bit, and we'll look at well, here we'll do it this way. This is actually easier. So, season 1, right, would basically be the kingdoms that just have the numbers. These would be your home kingdoms. Then you get into season 2, which is the technically second season, and that would be your first KVK. And then obviously these additional ones are just additional KVKs, right? This is 2+, that would be your third season if you're just starting to play now. And then season T1, which is Rage of Dragons, this is like 2++, is an easier way to understand this one. And then eventually what's going to happen is that Season 2+ and T1 are most likely going to get phased out, and then it'll just be Season 1, Season 2, and then Season 3, right? And we know that Season 3 is coming out next, and the reason that we can assume that these will get phased out is because the same thing happened with Season 1+, that was in between 1 and 2, and now it's just 1 going into 2, so eventually this will just go into 3. But the reason why I believe this is such an amazing announcement, and I want to read this as well so we can make sure to kind of set the groundwork appropriately before we dive too deep. So it says, since January 15th, we have been gathering feedback from Lords regarding the proposed changes on new initial servers, and we sincerely appreciate everyone's input. Concurrently, we understand the urgent anticipation for the cross-server migration feature and the concerns about preparation. Therefore, we would like to provide an update on the progress of the new starting server design. This modification involves the coordination of multiple systems, and the proposed changes are currently being refined. We aim to implement the system by May of this year, approximately 1 month before the launch. We will share detailed information about the changes and their impact. So, shockingly, when I read this now, because I read this before, now I feel like this is going to be, it's probably going to be April, right? Because it says 1 month before, right? So maybe it's 1 month before the launch of May. And I was actually reading it a month later as I think about this now. But it says a month before, right? So April will probably get some information that this talk about the changes and their impact to ensure that the transition is smooth and stable, preventing any last-minute surprises. That's nice. We appreciate the support. If you have any questions, of course, reach out or provide some suggestions for the new starting servers. So, with this in mind, and again, I think the assumption for most people is that this is home kingdoms, right? Because there really hasn't been anything else to indicate or give us some type of worry, right, that it's going to be something else. And so, because of that, let's kind of go back to the end game. So, let me quickly talk about what I really feel are some of the, and let's just go to a season 1, because I think this would be a lot easier. I'll just go to I'll go to one that is like about to end, so you can kind of see everything open. But if we go and we take a look at a season 1 kingdom, there are a lot of inherent benefits here. And I'm going to just mention a couple, and then I'm going to talk about, what I think some of the challenges are because they don't have home kingdoms at the moment. So one of the most important things, and I guess we'll kind of tie this in, and this has been mentioned by a couple people, right? The Chisgulls, Omnis, Shinchis, Meowers, Sneakies, and this is something I've been preaching basically since the beginning of the game. Or since we basically found out that, hey, right after the first season, there wasn't a way when we all went into 1+, right, for the beta groups and some of the ones after, that there just wasn't a home kingdom. And for me, I think the biggest challenge really is that there is a disconnect between the alliances. Because remember, you have to keep in mind, you're only able to have, we can just say give or take 200 people in an alliance, right? And now, obviously, with the hard cap they've put in, which is at 200, that we know, you are able to manage, to engage, and to socialize with those 200 people. And then, potentially, any allies. However, some of the challenges is that because there's no home kingdoms, you don't know who is actually in your home kingdom, right? There's no way where you can go and assess and look at a home kingdom leaderboard as an example to see all the alliances that are in your home kingdom and therefore be able to access, to a degree, all the players that are in your home kingdom. You have no way of knowing any active players that could be in your home kingdom that are not in an alliance or that are in just a really low-powered alliance. And maybe they're looking for opportunities to try and work their way up, or maybe they don't even know that those opportunities exist. And so therefore, the opportunity for you to reach out and to educate, inform, extend that hand is not available. And this all happens once Season 1 finishes. In addition, there are no ways where you can efficiently coordinate and organize with anyone who migrates to your kingdom that does not tell you they are coming. And that's because of the truly open door policy, right? So for some of us, if you're privy, basically once migration opens, which is a 3-day window, near the end of a season, you can migrate to kingdoms that are specifically within your KVK group. What that means is that if I want to go in, and let's say at the end of Season 2, because again, you can't migrate until the end of Season 2, that's the first opportunity, you can only migrate to kingdoms that are within the group, meaning that for this one, S278, you can only migrate from between 281 and 284. So you only have 4 kingdoms that you can choose from. When you get to 2+, some of those groupings get a little bigger, of course, and then obviously if we're in T1, now the groupings are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So you can kind of see the trend, where you're getting more options to do migration. However, once people, bear in mind, the way the migration works is all you have to do is pay 5,000 gems, and then as long as that kingdom is not full on its activity status, you can migrate there, right? There's 3 statuses: normal, active, crowded, and full. Normal, you can bring in 350 people. Active, 200. Crowded, we estimate probably 75 to 100. And then full, you can't bring anyone in. And so the challenge is that anyone can come in. There's no gating to it, right? This is something that absolutely needs to happen. If you want to have quality and not just quantity of kingdoms. And let's be honest, if you want to get the best of both worlds, which is quantity plus quality, or quality plus quantity, you have to have some kind of a gating system. You cannot allow for the lawless, wild, wild west to basically have its opportunity to rampage kingdoms, where you can have rogues that go in, you can have alliances that come in. Like, I'll give you a couple examples. So we've seen situations already where some rogue players have joined kingdoms just because they wanted to get matched up against them and keep terrorizing them, right? And keep attacking them for a season. We've seen situations where, at least, and again, this is probably a handful, if so, right? It's not a lot, where alliances have migrated into kingdoms just because they wanted to get matched up against the alliance or alliances that were in that kingdom, and also in the process take up their player slots, right? So basically joined the alliance with ill intentions, not good intentions, meaning, you know, they were there for that kingdom and they wanted to participate with those alliances, but instead quite the opposite. And that just completely undermines the whole point of a migration system, right? Unless you have come out and publicly set the precedent from the beginning that this is the way you want the game to be. Like, you want there to be truly open migration, you want there to be chaos all over, but again, that hasn't been stated. So because of that, that's not the way that migration is intended, especially if you've played Kingdom Builders for a while. You understand this, right? I don't think you're going to go over to a game like Rise of Kingdoms and say, oh yeah, the way that the migration system works is that the only way we like to do it here in our game is go over to kingdoms so we can terrorize everyone in there and take up all their migration slots. Like, no, that's never been said in the history, and I should be clear, that's not the majority opinion, and it's not a majority trend. It's not something that I've ever heard remotely close to being said that way in any of the games I've played and for the people I've encountered. Because of this, it is safe to assume that you're looking and aiming to get good value out of migration, especially for the people that are in those kingdoms. And so then we expand onto, right, what are some additional benefits that we can get out of home kingdoms? Well, it gives you the ability to see everyone that's there in your kingdom. You can see, on top of that, where are people, right? So you can see all the alliances. You can see all the players. If you zoom in enough, you can see the positions for each of the players and each of the alliances. This allows for you to organize, to structure, and you can make an argument to stabilize a kingdom where you understand where the positions are, what the relationships are. You can, I guess that'd probably be the second point, right? You can establish relationships with these alliances and players to start building better rapport and better bonds. Those are things that go into more long-term relationship building and sustainability of a kingdom. 3, it allows for you to assess where players and alliances can be. This actually almost gives you better opportunities to do things such as having kingdom-wide balance of alliances and their power. Now, bear in mind, the way that the game by default usually plays out is where you have this kind of mega alliance structure where it's basically just like a Darwinism effect, right? A survival of the fittest, and basically, not everyone, but usually you're having wide power gaps and wide alliance and balance in power. And it's just, okay, join whoever you want, and you'll have a group of people that just want to join the top alliances, and it just becomes like a very steep funneling effect working its way upwards, right? It's a pyramid, if you will. And by having a home kingdom now, it will give those kingdoms opportunities who want to aim for kingdom-wide balance, meaning that you could have 4, 6, 8, 10 alliances, and they're all balanced in power, right? You can obviously have less than that. You could have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 alliances that are balanced in power as well. But the point is that it gives you the opportunity to do that. Regardless if you believe in that or not, I have been on record many times stating that I am very much a proponent and an advocate for that way to approach the game, because I just believe without a doubt from my years of experience that it is a better long-term way to build a sustainable and positive environment within a kingdom, especially when you consider that, again, if you are running a healthy and successful kingdom, you can have 1,000, 2,000, a couple thousand active players there, right? If you're doing it right. Whereas you look at kingdoms that have more of this mega alliance style hierarchy, and usually you're not having as many active players in them as you are kingdoms that are more balanced and well-rounded. And at the end of the day, one of the most important factors that goes into KVKs is activity, right? Being able to have a healthy number of active people. And the more active players that you have, the higher percentage chance you have that more people are going to spend, meaning the higher percentage chance you have of being able to utilize, or not to say that in a bad way, but having available players that have diversified spending budgets, right? If it's low, mid, high. And so, again, it all kind of comes full circle, right? The next point I'll talk about is that it allows for you to inform. This would actually be point 3 or maybe point 4. It allows for you to inform your kingdom, right? If you have a home kingdom, that means that you basically have access to leaders and officers of those other alliances. So you can organize these people when it comes to, for example, putting out kingdom-wide mails, right? Again, depending if they end up adding in some kind of king-queen system or some kind of king-queen feature, or kingdom-wide governance, right? Or governing abilities that they allow for you to do. That's kind of beside the point for the moment. But it still allows for you to, for example, if I wanted to draft something up, and let's say I was the lead for, one of the alliances, and I wanted to draft up what I think is an important alliance mail that's going to help everyone prep for an upcoming KVK, or maybe it's something that goes over best practices, or maybe some good farming techniques, or how to farm merits, etc., right? I could write that up, and then I can send that out to all the other leads, right? I can send that out to them in a personal mail. I can send that out to them maybe over something like Discord, or provide them a link, right? Like a Google Doc link or something that I can DM that to them, where all of them can have access to that, and then they can copy paste it and send it out to their alliance members. It gives you the opportunity to communicate with more people, which also factors into building a healthier, right? Think of it like playing The Sims, right? You want to try and have that health factor, right? That happiness attribute or trait as high as possible. And these are ways that you can do that. Number 5 is that it allows for you to also be able to set up things like a Kingdom Discord, which is incredibly important. If you want to be able to get as many people onto a platform like Discord that allows for you, and bear in mind, I've seen people use Facebook groups, I've seen people use, oh gosh, I can't even remember what some of the other ones are that are escaping me. But the point is you can use a social media or social medium platform to organize your player base, to get them on. And then you can do a lot more. You have a lot more customization. You have a lot more tools that are available to you when it comes to your social engagement. And you can do things like sending announcements out to everyone, right? Not just leads and officers, but players from the kingdom as well, right? And these are really important things to do. You can schedule and organize social events. You can do things like a karaoke night. Maybe you guys want to do an anime watch party. Maybe you guys want to have a poker night, or you want to play Cards Against Humanity or Among Us or whatever it may be, right? It gives you these opportunities to build more of what we would consider to be a community rather than the way that it is now, where you're very much compartmentalized, right? Because it's your alliance, other alliances. You don't have a home kingdom, which is kind of like a home base or a home social base that you can go back to. Right now, yeah, could you potentially bring in people that are in other alliances and other players into a Discord, which is probably more of like a union-based Discord, even if, and again, for some people, if you're able to get alliances in through migration, right, you're probably in the process already of building out a Kingdom Discord, or probably already have one, and then you're just kind of adding people on here and there, but you're still not able to get everyone in, right? The opportunity to do that is not there yet. And so once again, this is another good thing that can happen out of home kingdoms. On top of that, it also gives you the opportunity, potentially, to go back and forth between a home kingdom and a KVK, right? If they end up implementing a system like that. That is really important, because if they ever decide at some point that they're going to open up Zone 1s to be attacked in KVKs, it gives you an opportunity to potentially come back or go to and from, right, as you see fit. And then I'll leave you with one more point, because I don't want this video to be too long, is that it also gives you the, I guess once again, the chance through a home kingdom, as it specifically pertains to, I guess in this case it probably would be the KVK, is that you can then look to diversify how you approach when it comes to finding people that are going to have a higher chance to fight. And this is something I think it kind of goes into the communication aspect. But to me, this is really important simply because, and you can see this is like an example of like it timing out, but you can get an example of, when you're going out and you're fighting, that one of the biggest things is that you're trying to look for as many fighters as possible, right? And in doing that, you have to be able to build a level of comfortability and confidence with people, right? If you're comfortable in fighting, then you can eventually become confident in fighting. And by having a home kingdom, it gives you that opportunity to do that. And let me kind of tie in this last point, is that because, like, an example would be if you finish a KVK, you have a home kingdom to come back to. Now, let me be specific here, because this is really important for how some people view KVK, home kingdoms, is that for those of you that have experienced home kingdoms in Rock or in other games, you may think, oh, okay, well, we're going to finish the KVK, we're going to come back to the home kingdom, and we're going to be here for months at a time. No. Not at all. The way that they should do home kingdoms is, I recommend them starting it off where you only come back for 2 weeks. Now, maybe it can be lower than that, but I think 2 weeks is a nice window of time that, one, it allows for you to, it gives you more than enough time to heal up all, if not the majority of troops in the hospital once the KVK has ended. And bear in mind, once the KVK has finished, most people at that point are already healing, right? So you can make the argument that by the end of the season, most players are either fully healed or already in the process of healing their troops because the season's already been decided. But allowing for a 2-week window allows for you to come back, heal up any remaining troops, go ahead and do assessments, collect your data reports, compile any lists that you need to, then start going about reassessing for the upcoming season, right? You kind of get into your restart cycle. Now you're going out and you're auditing players because maybe you're using that data. Now you're going to move some players around between alliances. Maybe you're now able to go and see and find out who's coming in. So you're going to organize those people, right? Because at the end of the season, you're not able, right? Maybe you're still waiting for the season to end after the migration period finishes. So now you're going to organize the people that are coming in for migration. Maybe you need to find them shells. Maybe you need to provide them a territory, right? That they need to build out. These are all things that will factor into having a little bit of cushion, right? You don't need as much cushion as you do for other games, especially if you're comparing Rock to something like CoD. You don't need to be in a home kingdom between KVKs as long as you do in Rock compared to what you do in CoD. And again, because of mainly the way that the healing system works, it's more proactive. It's definitely a pro, not a con, to not needing to be there as long. But there are a lot of logistical and managerial things that do need to be taken care of, mostly when it comes to having a nice breather. And again, maybe this can eventually get to as low as only 1 week in a home kingdom. But for the sake of, again, starting off not incredibly super conservative, I think a 2-week window is a great starting point, and then you let that play out a season or two, and then you adjust it as you see fit. Maybe you go from 2 weeks down to 10 days, and that's what the next progression step looks like. But I think 2 weeks is a nice in-between period that allows for a little bit of rest, a little bit of recovery, and then it allows for you to reassess, restructure, organize, and then plan, prep, and then initiate, right? Once you end up going into that next season. So to me, I hope that's something that's done, along with I hope that they end up adding some kind of kingdom-wide governance or governing tools. Again, a kingdom mail would be lovely to where you can message everyone in the kingdom, being able to have full control of migration so that way the king or queen can accept or deny people that they have to apply with. People that apply should have some kind of resume card when you're applying to the kingdom that shows you the seasons, the kingdoms you played in, the alliance you were in at the end of each season, the power you were at the end of each season, the merits you had at the end of each season. Like, these are things that are really important. And we need to start looking at developing and embracing this idea of home kingdom autonomy that resembles more of like you're building your own country. And the fact is that, you have auditing systems, right, for people that are trying to immigrate into other countries. You can't just, get on a plane and stay there, forever. I mean, I guess maybe technically you could, right, if you're kind of doing it the roundabout way. But again, right, and I don't want to, so the point being is, like, these are things that would be really good to add into the game. Also because nobody wants rogue players and rogue alliances rampaging through their kingdom. You want people that want to join your kingdom that have good intentions and want to be there for the right reasons. And you, as someone who is in that kingdom and represents, like if you're a lead or officers, you represent the players there. Why do you not want the best for the players? So to me, it's a best of both worlds situation. And again, I didn't cover everything. These are just some things that stick out to me from playing multiple kingdom builders, from doing a lot of jump / kind of new kingdom start projects, and for playing in some strong kingdoms. And obviously having as many characters and scout accounts as I do. Right, most of you know I have, at this point I think it's like 321 or 322 scout characters out of the 323 or so odd kingdom / servers that exist right now. And Call of Dragons. And so, I very much like going out and educating myself. I like researching. I like doing deep dives. These are things that I think allow for us to have a broader and wider perspective when it comes to approaching the game, when we're kind of assessing, what could be good to add versus what, do we need to pause on, or, what's maybe needs to be adjusted or taken out, etc. Anyways, with that being said, I wasn't expecting for this to be that long of a video, but I hope, if anything, this gets you excited for home kingdoms, what the possibilities are, what can be unlocked from that, when it's going to be coming out, and we'll continue monitoring the situation as well. I'd love to hear your comments, right? Whether you agree or disagree with me, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on home kingdoms, them being added. What do you think some of the pros and cons are? That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.